who knows? Like, when does the world open up? It's going to be a while. It's kind of the long haul now. It might take another year. Governments are very stupid. Governments are very stupid handling the COVID side of things.
I know the only country I've seen handle it the best so far in aggregate has been Mexico.
Just let it be. Well, there's two things you can do. You can do either the Mexico thing or the New Zealand thing. You go hard, eliminate it, or you go free and let it herd immunity. Like the middle of the road, which is generally what the entire world has done, is the worst. Yeah, so to this, going back to monetary impacts, like it does strike me that so much money has been printed, like ridiculous amounts, 30% plus more money in the system now. And inflation till recently has not gone up. They were like printing ridiculous amounts. Central banks are printing ridiculous amounts of money, and monetary inflation through the roof and price inflation flat, right? And we're starting to see that trickle in now. The thing is, if lockdown ends, what happens is people start spending. They buy airplane tickets, they go on holiday, they start to spend again. And what that will do is hockey stick monetary velocity, and the churn of the money supply starts to move and move and move, and that will fuel price inflation. Like
Right.
we've
We already
never
saw
seen
that in
before.
the US, right? US was one of the first to open up, basically.
Yeah, so then central banks are going to have a massive problem in their hand, which is runaway inflation. So my view is governments are not incentivized to end lockdowns, just sheer basis of their economies may run away into inflation or even hyperinflation. So they're in a rock and a hard place. Like, do they let this thing, outside of the containing virus, do they let this lockdown end and boost the economy, or do they let it end and let hyperinflation run its course because of the consequences of what they've done by printing money in this phase?
Yeah. So right now, what would you say is Bitcoin's fair market value?
55,000.
And uh, at what rate do you think that's gonna be growing over the next several months?
I can only speak for what it is now based on the current metrics.
So because the question I'm leading to is to what price would Bitcoin need to spike over the next, say, quarter in Q3 in order to be considered overvalued in need of a correction?
Well, it depends on what the fundamentals look like later in this quarter, but right now to be overvalued, it's got to be in the 70s or $80,000. We're far from that now. If we're at 55,000, we're like barely fair market. So typically in a bull market, you have so much FOMO that you're like 10, 15, 20, sometimes 30% above the fundamental fair market. Then like the later stages of the bull market, you go even 50% above that. And we've not seen any of that this year. So Bitcoin's trading quite cheap, even though it looks expensive, it's trading quite cheap based on the fundamentals. Okay. No interesting questions to talk to.
Yeah.
Let's end the podcast. Yeah, I think that's
Right.
it.
So people still misunderstand the decentralization claims on projects like Ethereum, Cardano, Polkadot, I don't know, Binance. They're not decentralized. And people are continuously demonizing the liquid sidechain, saying that their validators are federated and they're not decentralized. but your project being built on top of Ethereum, Cardano, Liquid, Binance, your project is totally centralized. So why does it matter whether the underlying is centralized or not? It
So
doesn't matter.
if you have a monetary network like Bitcoin, hell yes, you need maximum decentralization for the love of God and the future of your children. But if you've got a application layer network like Ethereum and Ethereum killers, you only need good enough decentralization for that to work. And an open peer-to-peer, roughly decentralized network is better than a database owned by, you know, JP Morgan, right? So there's only certain levels, and so they make the trade-off from decentralization between decentralization and scalability, because those two are opposite ends of the coin, and so that's the trade-off that they have. I just do not, for the life of me, think any of these things will ever become an important monetary standard. They may become an important application layer, and their token may rise because of that. Um, but um, when you look at that application layers, whatnot, you're really talking about a network that's powering apps like, and it's not the monetary network. And if put that in perspective, the monetary network of the global world is $100 trillion. An application layer, you could liken that to, you know, any one of the networks that we have, which are $1 or $2 trillion. You know, whether it's Apple, Facebook, you know, these kind of networks are valued in that regime, which is like 2 orders of magnitude cheaper than the main network in which money swims.
All right. Final question. What do you think of that Bitcoin Mining Council and the whole ESG? That's the environmental, social governance cartel that are basically telling businesses and the world what to do and catering to it. What is your view on that, if you have an
I
opinion?
think the mining council is just a ninja play by Michael Saylor to push back on the propaganda from mainstream media. You
And
just get a
Elon Musk.
cartel um, of pseudo respectable miners to publish their data, and so it's kind of a transparency publication initiative to push back and give something that the media loves. They always need source information to publish, so it just pushes back on the bad propaganda we've had against Bitcoin. And I like that, and I don't agree with you know, the Bitcoiners saying, yeah, this is like a centralized blah blah blah. I think it's just a ninja play to push back on the news cycle.